Demon Rain and Draculaswa were two of the first notable Halloween units in the game, but their popularity paled in comparison to Grim Lord Sakura. On an unrelated note, I should go ahead and Neo-Vision her now. Grim Lord Sakura has always been a solid unit. She had some relatively high damage for her time, which, compounded with a solid support kit, ensured that she found a lot of use through a majority of content. But then people realized that Gumi would favor Chaos Wave Awakened over Chaos Wave, and Grim Lord Sakura fell out of favor due to being labeled as a subpar support, which made sense, as she wasn't primarily the one to begin with. Sure, she had other chaining families, but her Bolting Strike attack wasn't very powerful, and sometimes I keep forgetting that this order actually exists. Still, a shiny Neo-Vision with an unseen form is bound to catch some attention, so let's see if it resurrected Grim Lord Sakura from the grave. First up, Grim Soulblade is a Bolting Strike Brave ability that can inflict a 120% fire and dark imperil, and, for some reason, poison. It's also a physical attack that deals magic damage, meaning it can deal different elemental damage if she's holding an elemental weapon. Eclipse Ward will boost your team's fire, lightning, light, and dark resistance by 80%, which will no doubt be useful if the situation calls for it. Grim Spectral Webbing is another Bolting Strike attack that lets your team dodge an attack. By the way, this one's also a physical attack that deals magic damage. Grim Will-O-Wisp will imbue fire onto another ally, and strengthen the damage modifier of Grim Soulblade. Grim Inferno is a Fire Chaos Wave Awakened Brave ability that can inflict a 120% fire imperil. Unweave cures any breaks and stop on your team, and grants resistance to stop. Grim Ritual requires Grim Lord Sakura's Limit Burst, and will take half of her HP. In return, it'll grant a 50% general mitigation buff, a HP barrier, and a re-raise for the rest of your team. Grim Emblazed Mind is a cooldown ability that boosts Grim Lord Sakura's magic and spirit by 250%, grants her an MP regen, and boosts the damage modifier of Grim Inferno. Finally, Candy Feast is a Magnus ability that can be used twice. It'll restore half of your team's HP and MP, fill their limit burst gauges by a good amount, and grant a 100% resistance boost to their fire, lightning, light, and dark resistance. Notably, she's gained a magic spell, and Thunder, a high-level green magic spell that imbues the lightning element onto any ally. Onto her passives. She's gained a good boost to her limit burst gauge fill rate, enough status ailment resistance that warrants a sentence about it, immunity to stop, a decreased chance to get targeted, honestly something any mage would want, a good boost to her killer buffs, and a new 50% boost to her lightning resistance. If you want to build her, she prefers to wield a single weapon. Finally, her limit burst. It hasn't been improved, but a full MP restore is valuable enough to take note of. And now to transform. She goes through some kind of costume and hairstyle change, and while I'm not entirely certain where this came from, I'm just glad it's not half-baked. Her Brave Shift doesn't have a turn duration, though it will have a 2-turn cooldown. She loses most of her abilities, and while that's great for most characters, I kind of wish that they kept most of the support abilities. Oh well, let's get into it. Grim Ethereal Haunting lets another ally deal dark damage and raises the damage modifier of Grim Soulblade. Grim Scythe Reap is a dark Chaos Wave Awakened Brave ability that inflicts a 120% dark imperil. Onto her cooldowns. Grim Dark Edge boosts her magic by 250%, grants an MP regen, and enables a quadruple cast. Grim Malefic Aura will grant 3 different killer buffs for your team, and a good MP regen as well. Finally, Grim Dark Scar is a dark Magnus ability that can be used 3 times. It chains of Chaos Wave Awakened and grants Grim Lord Sakura 3 powerful killers. Don't forget about her magic. Well, I say that, but she just loses the weaker magic spells. Let's look at her passives. She's gained a boost to her physical killers, and since it's a brave ability, it can be strengthened further. She trades the Limit Burst fill rate for 20% physical and magic evasion, exchanges her 50% light resistance for 50% dark resistance, trades her poison and sleep resistance for stone resistance, and if you give her her Trust Master reward or Super Trust Master reward, she'll get another boost to her Limit Burst gauge fill rate and a guts buff. If you want to build her, it might be best to give her a single weapon. She also has access to a wider variety of equipment, so keep that in mind. Finally, let's look at her Limit Burst. It's a dark attack that can inflict a 130% dark imperil, and boost Grim Lord Sakura's magic by 250%. Alright, let's rank brave abilities. I'd prioritize Grim Scythe Reap to increase the imperil, Dark Origin to strengthen her damage output, Grim Soulblade to increase both imperils again, Grim Inferno to, surprise surprise, strengthen the imperil, and Inferno Cell to raise her magic and boost her Limit Burst gauge fill rate. Overall, she possesses a good amount of brave abilities, and while you don't have to upgrade all of them, doing so will certainly make her more well-rounded. So, with that, let's make a damage rotation. I'll use her as a dark damage dealer. On turn 1, switch forms, cast Grim Dark Edge, and double cast Grim Scythe Reap. On turn 2, triple cast Grim Scythe Reap and top it off with Grim Dark Scar. Of course, if you can take advantage of the killer buffs, feel free to start off with Grim Darkscar instead. On turn 3, quadruple cast Grim Scythe Reap. From here, you can simply quadruple cast Grim Scythe Reap and you're pretty much done. Make sure to recast Grim Dark Edge when necessary. If you want to speed up the battle, you can use Grim Darkscar just to cap off the chain. Granted, you'll be wasting some of the killer buffs, but that won't really matter if the enemy's already dead. So how good is Grim Lord Sakura? A Neo Vision Awakening has certainly brought her back from the grave. With that being said, as a Neo Vision Awakened unit, she's outclassed by both Remake Aerith and Imbara in terms of magic damage. However, with the ability to dish out either physical or magical attacks based on her magic damage, she may actually see a lot more use than the other two in a wider range of content. And that's not even getting into her plethora of support abilities. A re-race, elemental resistance, break and stop resistance. Overall, Grim Lord Sakura is an excellent character that can fit onto many teams. Even though her damage output may pale compared to many other characters, her other abilities give a great reason to remember that damage isn't everything in Final Fantasy Brave Exvius.